Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with a Spright variant. Duh. It's something to be expected, is either a Spright or a Synchro deck, or sometimes both. But I wanted to come back to Yubel Spright in particular, which, having played a lot of different kinds of Spright variants recently, I'm really thinking is probably just the best one right now, in terms of not only consistency, but also power level. This is something that I've actually talked about a little bit before, I know recently, that when it comes to variants, especially with like Spright, but actually this is true of a lot of different decks, when it comes to variants, a lot of the time, people will ask like, what is the best variant? And it's really less about which one is the best, sometimes, and more about the different pros and cons. However, I will say that when weighing all of the pros and cons of the different builds, I think in terms of consistency and power, having a good balance of both, that Yubel Spright is probably going to be your best bet. Live Twin Spright is more consistent, but I think the end boards tend to be a little bit less powerful. Adventure Spright can spit out some really nasty boards, but also you have to play a lot of breaks, and you have to often play way over 40 cards to accommodate for that. So again, as far as like just overall balance of power level and consistency goes, I think I prefer Yubel Spright personally. But I did also want to try out some new stuff here. So we are rocking Sill Hat Rabbit, which I don't think we've actually played in a deck so far yet. So I definitely wanted to make sure this card got a little bit of time in the spotlight. So the Sill Hat Rabbit, of course, has the ability to set a continuous trap card that can be summoned as a... excuse me. That can be special summoned as a monster. Of course, if you do that, you can't use this card as a link material, but you kind of want it to stick around anyway, because when you activate that card, you can pop a spell or a trap card that your opponent is in control of, right? So we want Angel Statue Azaroon for our continuous trap monster of choice for pretty obvious reasons. It might not be level 2, but it does have by far the most powerful effect of these types of cards. Also having relatively impressive stats at 1800 attack and defense, this card can not only negate the special summon of an opponent's monster and destroy it, but if it sticks around and gets destroyed in battle, you can actually destroy the monster that destroyed this card. So that, of course, is going to be quite excellent when it comes to, you know, good targets. I mean, there are level 2 trap monsters out there, but you can't really flip it up during your turn 1 anyway, so it's not like that would really make too much of a difference here. So yeah, we are featuring, like I said, the Sill Hat Rabbit, because, you know, I was thinking about, you know, putting in Melfi's, of course. The Melfi package is one that I always like to defer to, but I was also thinking about it, and I was like, you know, the Melfi package, while good, does still require a commitment of multiple cards in both the main and extra. 2 of each really isn't that big of a deal, but, you know, the Sill Hat Rabbit isn't just, like, new card gimmick. It only takes 1 of each spot in the main deck and extra. The Melfi package represents, it often most represents the Herald of the Arclight being an Omni Negate, as well as a potential kind of like situational floodgate-ish type effect, but more often than not we're using it for the Omni Negate effect, right? So there is that. You could also play Merry Melfi's and get the bounce, whereas the Sill Hat Rabbit represents a negation of a special summon, and also potentially a spell trap pop. So again, you know, it's less about which is better and more about pros versus cons, right? Because I will say the Herald of the Arclight Omni Negate sounds better, but I, as someone who's played a lot of Melfi's and Sprites, you barely resolve that. Typically, if you're summoning that, I don't know, it's either going to be the case that your opponent can just like battle over it or get rid of it fairly easily, or you were just going to win anyway. It's a little win more. Granted, I think the Sill Hat and the Continuous Trap are also probably a little win more, but again, it's all about pros and cons, right? For the Yubel/Fiend side of the deck, it's as usual just 1 copy of each Yubel and Spirit of Yubel, the 1 Phantom of Yubel in the extra. We do have the Dark Beckoning Beast, as well as the openings, of course, as well as a playset of Nightmare Throne to grab that Dark Beckoning Beast. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to 1-card combo lines, the Dark Beckoning Beast is going to be the main one that's going to let us go into a full Spright board. Again, one of the kind of weaknesses of Spright is that a lot of its combo lines aren't one card, so if you're in top deck mode, you're usually in quite a bit of trouble. But when it comes to turn 1, you'll often still have like more than enough tools at your disposal, right? Hero Kid is a way of ensuring that. I totally am all for a Hero Kid. Now, I know in the past I have said that I didn't think Hero Kid was super great, but if I recall right, that was when we still had 3 Nimble Beaver. And I think, yeah, at the time when we had 3 Nimble Beaver, you always just played a Nimble package and not Hero Kids. But now that Nimble Beaver's at 1, the Hero Kid is much more consistent. And it's, again, not even bad to open, because you could just normal summon it in Special Spright, or you could pitch it off of something like Opening. It has a lot of case uses in that regard. With both the main and the extra deck, honestly, I was going to say for the extra deck, but this is, again, true of the main as well, you have a ton of different flex spots for different tech cards, right? So in the extra deck in particular, right, like I said, we're trying out the Sill Hat Rabbit. We definitely want the number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito as a Zeus pilot. Downward even is pretty optional. I don't think Almirage is. This is a deceptively strong card. I say deceptively because it doesn't look like it does much of anything. You read this effect and you're like, why does this matter for our deck? It doesn't matter for the effect. It matters because you can link off a Dark Beckoning Beast that you normal summoned, especially one that might have gotten negated, and then potentially bring it back with an Opening, and then you'll be able to go full combo from there. Just being able to link off the Beckoning Beast and get it into the graveyard is also really helpful for making Phantom a lot of the time without losing out on like net total bodies. You'll actually see examples of this in the games that we're going to show off here. But I mean, other than that, there is still a ton of different stuff you can play in the realm of rank and League 2s, right? I'm not the biggest fan of Centauria, but the card's not terrible. I love Onibimaru Soul Sweeper. I feel like I never see enough Spright players playing this card anymore. This card is still phenomenal. You might read it and be like, isn't SP Little Knight just better? No, actually, there are a lot of situations where Soul Sweeper will bail you out that SP would not, because you can banish the monster and still battle directly for lethal, or you can battle, and even if you don't lethal them, you can still go Soul Sweeper into Downward Zeus, and then boom, there you go, now you have a format Zeus, right? It's just such an insanely good card. I've never been disappointed playing Soul Sweeper in the extra. Granted, it is one of the flex spots. Like, if you were running low on space and needed something else, then yeah, you'd probably cut Soul Sweeper, but I've never been disappointed playing this card in my Spright decks. I think it is quite good. But yeah, like I said, other than that, it's a lot of fairly standard stuff, but you can still play Avermax. Again, you can still do Melfies. The flexibility in the deck building is one of the things that I really, really like about this. Oh, and we're also on Meow Mine. I might be a little more biased now that I pulled a Royal Copy and wanted to try this out a little bit more, but again, it's one of the many options that you have when playing this deck in terms of extenders in particular. You are definitely spoiled for choice, right? Which is definitely a good thing to be when in the deck building process. So that's pretty much everything I have to say about the list. Let's go ahead and break it down card by card, and then we'll watch some of these Duelist Cup games. We're going to be on 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Hero Kid, 3 Max C, 2 Dark Beckoning Beast, 2 Spright Blue, 2 Spright Jet, 2 Spright Red, 2 Spright Carrot, 1 EMP Meow Mine, 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, 1 Yubel, 1 Spirit of Yubel, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 3 Nightmare Throne. We got 2 Opening of the Spirit Gates, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Spright Starter, 1 Spright Gamma Burst, 2 Infinite Permanents, and then 1 Angel Statue Azaroon. And that'll be our main deck. Now for the extra, we've got 1 Phantom of Yubel, 1 Onibimaru Soul Sweeper, 2 Gigantic Spright, 1 number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito, 1 Downward Magician, 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus Sky Thunder, 1 Salamangreat Amirage, 1 IP Masquerena, 2 Spright Elf, 1 Spright Sprint, 1 SP Little Knight, 1 Silo Hat Rabbit, and then finally 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. That's going to do it for our list. Let's take a look at this gameplay now. Alright, hopping into our Duelist Cup games, I want to start by showing a going first game where we get to do a little bit of board building, particularly using the Silo Hat Rabbit. I believe this game does get to show that off. Yes, this is quite a good opening hand actually here. I am going to, before doing anything else, actually summon the Phantom of Yubel. It is true that I could have started with Beckoning Beast and made a little bit more efficient use of those Yubel cards by like discarding maybe one of them for opening, but I like taking my first action, throwing down the Phantom to protect against any potential hand traps that the opponent might have here. Now, because I have Starter, well, actually not even just because I have Starter, I'm going to go for Sprint here, dump Hero Kid, and even if I didn't have Starter, I could still discard a card from my hand to activate Opening, bring back the Beckoning Beast, and then have an extra level 2 monster that way. But I definitely do want to use Sprint in order to dump the Hero Kid here, because later we're going to summon Elf and then bring it back. But for now, I'm going to Gigantic for a Carrot, special the Jet that's already in hand, add another Starter. I don't need Gamma Burst, and this Starter can actually be used for more disruption on the opponent's turn. After that, we are going to, as I mentioned, link into the Elf. From there, we can use the Elf to bring back the Hero Kid. Hero Kid effect going to summon 2 more copies from the deck. And then we're going to get to go for our... I think we go for IP first, or do we go for the Rabbit? No, I do go for Rabbit first. Yep, here's the Silhouette Rabbit. We get to summon that, setting up the Angel Statue Azarune, and I could have used the Opening to pitch Starter and then get back the Dark Beckoning Beast here instead of linking off the Carrot, but like I said, I want to set Starter and then use it on my opponent's turn anyway, so it's effectively, it would be kind of the same thing, right? Like, because the Starter's going to grab either Red or Carrot, so if I had pitched that and kept Carrot on the field, well, actually, then I wouldn't have access to Red, which I do want. The way I did it here, by linking off the Carrot, I can use Elf to bring back Carrot and then Starter for Red, and then have access to both. So that is the total of what our interactions look like going into our opponent's first turn here, when we get to go first and set up our board, right? We have a monster to get here at the Phantom. We have the IP to go into SP, which is 2 interactions right there in and of itself. So that's 3 total right now, 4 with the Angel Statue, 5 if you count the Starter. We also have the ability to Elf for Carrot, that's 6. If you want to count the Silhouette Rabbit's Spell Trap pop, that's 7, and then we have a Maxi in our hand, so that makes 8 for this particular game state. Which is wild. 8 interactions for your opponent's turn, layered as well, so like, I mean, to a degree, right? I guess to be fair, we do have the trap card set and everything, right? So I did activate it a little bit early here, because I was a little more interested in getting the statue online to negate, if I needed to, rather, negate a summon, rather than the spell trap pop from the Silhouette Rabbit. Now here our opponent's going to have Super Poly. They end up taking Elf and Carrot. I think they should have taken IP and Phantom of Yubel. As the Sprite player here, that would have had me sweating the most, but I'll still just use the Starter to grab another Carrot here. That way I can negate the Chimera Fusion that I know is coming down. I could have also let that go and then activated the Azarune, but I want to save the Azarune for, well, just a better summon, right? I don't want to let a Fusion summon resolve and pop it and they still get the effect, though, and all that gobbledygook. Here I'll use it, though, against the Ver Anaconda. That is completely fine. Guru gets to draw a card. I'm going to max C now. I probably should have done this earlier, but I definitely want to do it now before they draw here, in case they draw Ash Blossom or a Callbear or something. I hear they're going to Imseti, pitch that weird illusion card, the Tau Master, Phantom of Yubel. I'm going to activate that here. Granted, I won't get to summon off the Spirit because I'm 2 locked because I activated Starter, but that's fine. My opponent's out of steam. They're going to have to pass back over to me. So, it's like I've always said. It's not just about building the board and having the interruptions. You definitely have to know how to use that too. And a lot of it is like in the moment, right? You got to think about how many cards your opponent has in hand, how many of them you know, because here we know one of these 2 is a Baphomet, right? So that's how I knew. I was like, okay, Chimera Fusion is coming. That's why I need to start it for Carrot now, before that goes live, etc., etc. And then, yeah, we still end up with that. We didn't even need to use the IP. We still had the IP into SP for 2 more points of interaction if we really needed it there. EMP Meowmine is not a bad top deck at all. I can special summon that and then link it off alongside the Carrot to go into the Elf. Now at this point, it's pretty unlikely my opponent's going to be able to stop me, but they might still have a hand trap as their card in hand, so I'm going to play around that here. I'm going to summon blue to the Elf Zone so it can't be targeted. Now before I special Jet, I'm actually going to overlay it into Gigantic, because I need the Jet to grab Gamma Burst. I don't think I actually need to, but it's how I want to win here. So making sure that both of our Elf Zones are free to be able to keep putting stuff into them so they can't be targeted, just in case, again, that last card in hand is like Valor or Emperor or something. And yeah, we have more than enough damage to lethal our opponent here with the Gamma Burst. Good stuff. All right. that is going to do it for our first game. Again, I want to just demonstrate not only setting up a turn 1 board, but interrupting all of your opponent's stuff and then doing the follow-up OTK. This is extremely typical of Spright decks. If you can get used to this line, you will be very, very good at playing Spright decks. So, well, I guess not to toot my own horn too much or anything. But anyway, let's go ahead and look at the next duel we got lined up here. All right, got another pretty decent back and forth here. It's another going first game. There is going to be going second one after this, but this one will show more board building, but I'm pretty sure we don't go for the rabbit here. Yeah, because our hand's a little bit weirder this time. I think this is actually, we're up against Yubel here, if I remember right. I'm going to normal reds, or rather normal Meow Mine special red, go into gigantic, and I'm going to have to hope this is enough. We do have the cross out in case they have Asher, Valor, Imperm or something, but thankfully they don't. So we get to go for the blue here and then for the jet. I want to try something a little bit experimental here. So at this point in the line, right, I have, we have the gigantic, the blue, the jet, and the starter. I think normally what I would do here, if I wasn't trying to be fancy, is probably just go like boom boom elf, and then, you know, elf, bring back whatever, Meow Mine, yep, go into IP, and then starter for red / carrot, and pass. It's a pretty standard, simple Spright setup. But I realized, I was like, okay, I could do a line with sprint dumping Hero Kid. So I was like, you know what, let's experiment. Let's see exactly how this plays out. I do still need to make elf first, though. However, I'm not going to be using elf's effect right away. I want to use starter for carrot and then go into sprint. We do have to make elf first because sprint, like elf, cannot be used as a link material the turn it's summoned, and I need elf to be in the EMZ pointing down for the target protection, not sprint in the EMZ. So that's why we make elf first. But yep, dumping the Hero Kid and then bringing it back with the elf, and then we get to link 2 of those into the IP, and then we're going to set and pass. So basically, we added the sprint to our end board in exchange for giving up. Well, we didn't even have to give up on carrot because we can still special it during our opponent's turn. So yeah, during this line, added a sprint and a Hero Kid to our board, which don't really do the most, especially on a board where you don't have an Xyz monster. The Melfi package would have been very good here, but I still think this is a decent enough improvement, and it also gets the Hero Kids out of your deck as potential bricks, so that's actually pretty nice. Alright, so here they're going to go for opening the Spirit Gates. I'm gonna elf for red. Just want to see if they would activate anything to negate it, and since they didn't, I'm gonna go cross out and I'm gonna call opening of the Spirit Gates because I actually play that card too. I don't think my opponent really had any indication of that at this point, but of course I didn't think you would play around a set cross out with any real specific card. Yeah, okay, so Yubel opponent's gonna go for the Nightmare Pain next. I have the red to negate monster effect, so I want to use my SP first effect on a spell or a trap card here. There are arguments to go for red or carrot there. I decided to go for red because I thought I could handle spell and trap cards between the SP and the cross out. But they actually had a second Nightmare Pain. I'm just going to let them pop a Spirit of Yubel in hand to go for Gruesome Gravescrimmer. Spirit's going to activate. I'm going to use the Spright red on that, sending the sprint. I don't need it for anything in particular. And I don't want them to have access to OG Yubel here with the Gravescrimmer too. They're actually going to normal summon D-Lotus and then go for Squirmer. I'm going to chain the SP Little Knight to banish itself and D-Lotus, because the D-Lotus tribute effect is not a quick effect, which is nice. And then I can use Meow Mine to actually bounce that Grave Squirmer back to hand. But they can still get it into the graveyard. Oh no, they pitched the Spirit. I thought they were going to pitch the Grave Squirmer. But I guess that wouldn't really do much here. Their goal was more to make Phantom, it looks like. Oh, they might have forgotten that this was negated, actually, here. That kind of would have explained that. Because, like, you wouldn't really need to discard it. I guess it doesn't really matter either way, right? But they're going to go for Phantom. I'm going to activate my Spirit of Yubel. I was just trying to get a body on the board. But if they want to use their Phantom here, they are more than welcome to do that. Because it's just going to summon OG Yubel, which is just going to get destroyed by its own effect during the end phase. Oh, no, it actually doesn't, because they're going to overlay onto Typhone. But this is fine. I would rather deal with a Typhone. I think I would rather deal with a Typhone than a Phantom. I think. Yeah, Typhone's going to put back Elf, but I still get back SP, so we're good here. Ash Blossom doesn't look like a great draw, but it actually doesn't really matter what we drew, as long as it was anybody I could put on the board. Again, if I have to normal summon Ash Blossom, we can do that here. That's going to let us go into the Elf without having to use the Little Knight. Can bring back the blue, special the Jet. Jet's going to grab the Gamma Burst, so we go for an OTK here. But we can't make a big Gigantic because of the Typhoon. And here's where our friend Onibi Maru Soul Sweeper comes in. I think we might have been able to do a Mosquito OTK if I'd grabbed Starter here as well. Which would have been really fun to show off, but yeah, the Gamma Burst Soul Sweeper definitely does it here as well. And again, the wild thing too is that even if we had not OTK'd our opponent here, Soul Sweeper is still amazing because I then could have just gone like Downer Zeus. I think I didn't 2-lock myself there, did I? I'm pretty sure I didn't because I didn't activate Starter and I didn't summon Gigantic. So no, I was not 2-locked. So yeah, I could have gone Downer Zeus into a 4-material Zeus even if I had not won the game there. So again, I cannot sing the praises of Onibimaru Soul Sweeper enough. The card is phenomenal in this deck. All right, we have one more duel that I'd like to show you before we end off here. So let's finish with that one. And as mentioned before, this last game is going to be a going second game. We're actually playing against the Shining Sarcophagus Yugi deck. So let's see how we fare here. We're going to get to go second, like I said, and we actually don't open any hand traps, which is a little bit unlucky because we do play a decent amount. But just means we're going to practice some board breaking here, I suppose. Gadget Trio is going to get to grab the Shining Sarcophagus, which is going to activate, and they get to Ties of Bind as well for both of the Silent Swordsman and Magician. So, also grabbing the Turn Silence here. They pretty much have all of the main interaction this deck likes to end on, right? Which isn't the most, but it's not the worst either. They get a spell card / effect negate. They can also negate a card or effect that targets Shining Sark or one of the monsters that mentions it. So we also know they have the Ties that Bind. I can buff one of their dudes as well as end my battle phase as well. Alright, so here we're going to lead with the opening and going for the Dark Beckoning Beast. And here is where order and sequencing matters a lot for a deck like Spright, because there's so many different combinations that you could do here and so many different ways that you could lead. But I'm going to lead with the opening for the Beckoning Beast. I'm going to normal the Beckoning Beast, grabbing another opening, then special red. After that, we're going to link off Beckoning Beast for our friend Almirage. I want to get Phantom online, but I want to make sure I'm making good use of my bodies beforehand. So now that we have a Link monster in play, we can special summon Meow Mine. That's important to do right away to make sure that our Spright Red Monster Negate is online if need be. Mostly in case our opponent has a hand trap here. From there, as you saw, we're actually going to discard the Hero Kid, not the Yubel, in order to bring back the Dark Beckoning Beast. Most of the time, the Yubel would absolutely be the correct pitch here, especially because you could potentially bring back the Yubel if that's what you wanted to do, and maybe do some shenanigans of that. But here, like I said, I want to get my Hero Kid into the graveyard so that way I can use it to get more bodies later. I was waiting for this as well, the Shining Sarcophagus. I was kind of planning on having to deal with it when I went for Elf for Hero Kid, but my opponent actually used it way earlier than anticipated, which is perfect for me. So here I'm going to go for the Phantom, now that the Beckoning Beast is back in the graveyard. Then I can link Almirage and Meow Mine into Elf. From there we've got the Spright Elf effects to bring back the Hero Kid. Unfortunately for me, my opponent has a Called by the Grave, which is like one of the worst things they could have had here for me. Yeah. And if I'd had Carrot, of course, that would have worked, but it happens, unfortunately, but it does. Alright, so we're going to overlay into a Gigantic here. I'm still thinking about potentially lethaling, except I forgot about the Turn Silence, and I'm like, oh, right, it's going to stop me from being able to battle. Oh, and also it negates the effect. Both of those things, so don't mind me putting a Downer on. For some reason, I just went to autopilot here, and then I was like, oh yeah, I can Downer, but I can't Zeus. So I kind of wasted the Downer here, which isn't a huge deal. Instead, should have just gone directly into the SP Little Knight, but that doesn't even really do it. So my plan here was to Gigantic battle over the Swordsman, and then link into the Little Knight, and then banish the Shining Sark. Yes, my opponent still would have been able to battle over my SP Little Knight with the Silent Magician, and I think I would have been just in straight up top deck mode, but I wouldn't have lost, is the idea. Sometimes you have to play to win. Sometimes you have to play to not lose. Sometimes not dying is your win condition. Like, seriously, that was one of those situations. But yeah, no, unfortunately, just was not able to get there between the turn silence. That call by was brutal. Oh, I'd have had 3 more level 2 bodies without that call by, and I definitely could have found a way to get through all their stuff with that. I don't think that would have been too much of a problem, but, you know, we didn't open any hand traps. We had to go second, so it's to be expected. I think we still did about as well as we could have, maybe. But if you can spot a better line, definitely don't be afraid to let me know. Anyway, that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching, but for now, let's go ahead and move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, but more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.